America has like upheld fascist governments. We've supported fascism. We've supported, I want to say, like dictatorships, right? And we've helped and been a part of dismantling democracies globally. Whether we were talking Venezuela, something we were doing in Guatemala, our hands were in Haiti, um, our hands in Iraq, our hands are in everyone's fucking pocket. And then it's like, well, now now we need to focus on ourselves. We can't help you guys. We can't help you guys who have dealt with the fallout of all the shit we've done to your government. No, we can't help you. And I think that's so it's like, well, I understand the idea of like, we got to focus on ourselves. I also feel like, again, like you can't go around doing things and not eventually pay for it. And I want to say, since the Cold War, America has gone around doing shit all over. We had our like all of a sudden we become self-righteous and we know what's good for everybody. And now we're like dealing with the aftermath, no different like the war on drugs. And then simultaneously, creating havoc in South America, and then, funneling drugs into our own country, then being like, oh, those Black people that are using drugs, let's lock them all up. So to me, it's like everything is a cause and effect. So to sit there and pretend like I don't know that my government, even if I didn't agree with it, right? I didn't agree, right? But I still live here. I'm still a taxpayer. I'm still an American. So to some degree, just like I may not be responsible for what's going on in Palestine, I'm responsible for what's going on in my country is.
I can respect that perception of our reality. I use the word perception cautiously because everybody doesn't see things the same way. But when you put it like that, definitely, if we've caused some problems, then it's ridiculous to think that we're not going to be responsible on the cleanup side of things. You make litter, you clean up your trash. So if you're going around dumping your trash everywhere, then it might be a good thing for you to do to try to help fix some of these problems. I just don't think that's going to happen. Go ahead.
But it's like, can we fix it? To me, it's like the catch is that some things are like some things are meant to end. Things are meant to spill over. I don't necessarily know if it can be fixed. You know what I mean? But going back to, but I'm not going to pretend like, I guess it's like, so even right now, a lot of the migrants, they are from Venezuela. So I keep using that as a reference. And, there's so many things that had gone on in that country where we were like right there doing things, orchestrating things behind the scene. America's really good at quietly meddling. And I think what it boils down to even be a empire, to be, such a powerful nation, to some degree, you got to have people in your pocket, right? So I promise you, no one's getting to such a powerful state without fucking a bunch of people over. It's impossible. It's kind of like politics. It's a double-edged sword. What are you going to give up to get something, right? Everyone's, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, but to what extent? You know what I mean? So I don't even know if the things that we're dealing with are actually fixable. It could just be part of our tumble that's due eventually. Like it's due. Like everyone pays their dues. It's like you have to pay whatever you weigh. So, now you can pay today, you can pay tomorrow. Eventually it's all gonna, because if there's a cause and effect and there's consequences to everything.
That's real. I find that the cause and effect is definitely a frightening thing for a lot of people because they've always been willing to pass the buck and they've always been willing to shirk responsibility. Having a conversation right now with people who are trying to shirk responsibilities. And man, it is so easy to just pass the buck and say that it's, somebody else's problem, right? Somebody else's problem. I don't have to deal with that. But no, like you said, our country is involved in some real dirty shit. And it, again, it's a ridiculous notion to think that our hands are going to be clean when the country's hands are not clean. I guess to me, I'm a one size fits all here, close the borders, maybe help the people who are already waiting in line to do what they need to do and stop fucking with everybody else. Really, like we need to spend some real good focus time here. And then maybe we would be a better asset to our friends around the globe, right? But no, No, we want to shirk responsibility, or we don't want to take care of home. We want to take care of everywhere else. But then that take care of, that could go one of two different ways. Are we funding the war, or are we funding the resistance? And then a lot of times we're doing both. It's both
But
and Marie.
isn't that amazing? Like, even to be, let's say, we're in, like, going back to, we're in the, we're assisting in the illegal occupation of Palestine. So not only are we we're giving them bombs to drop on the Palestinians, and then simultaneously we're like, let's feed and make sure the Palestinians have water. Let's make sure they have the things they need, while we also murder them. We help murder them every single day. Um, huh. Huh. Like, isn't that so weird? So imagine if you just didn't fund the fucking genocide, then you wouldn't even have to, like, feed anybody, right? Like, there wouldn't be no one to feed, or anyone needing water. Or guess what? Once they've destroyed all of Palestine, now they wouldn't be taxpayers' dollars going to help rebuild it. Even in Israel has better benefits than America, and America's actually funding, has been fitting the bill for Israel since the establishment.
That's very true. I did a little bit of research about this before our show, and so Israel was established in 1948, right? And it used to be Palestine, and the conflict is essentially over the borders of, and where does one stop and where does one end, and I find that people being shuffled across the global game board is a tale as old as time. Or I mean, honestly, it's like as old as the Berlin Conference, when literally the European powers in America that were all in power at the same time, got together and divided up Africa like
Oh, absolutely.
like a swap meet, right?
Same old, same old story. Just now it's 2024. The same old imperialist colonization. It's just 2024, and we have it in real time. And there's internet. What I'm saying? There's internet.
Right. Now you've got people live tweeting from the scene of a drone attack, or
When their internet isn't being shut down.
Right. Or you've got rolling blackouts, so you can't even report on what's going on. And some of that stuff is close to home. It's not just in Palestine or over in the Middle East or Africa, or because I guess that is Africa, but it's also not Africa anymore. Man, these lines, the global lines, they get messy.
Changing as whoever it benefits the most.
Correct. And it's never the niggas, right? It's never the swarthy people. It's never the dark ones.
Because, I mean, we could talk about that. But even too, it's like, we could talk about the Congo, or even recently, I think that the US was like, these corporations were being sued for the child labor they were using, like in the Congo. And like, it was like the case was thrown out. Or just in general, the resources that have been taken from there. Like, even, for example, Congo, one of their resources is, besides just cobalt, diamonds, right?
Mm-hmm.
That Israel's largest export is diamonds, and there's no diamonds in Palestine.
I didn't know that. That Israel. I'm sorry. Did you say Israel or Palestine has a diamond export, or were you talking about?
I'm saying there's in general. So in essence, I try to be. I'm very cognizant of it. So it's like when I say Palestine, because in essence it still is an illegal occupation. So it's Israel because that's what they're calling it. But in essence,
right. No, okay, we're talking about the same place.
But there's no diamonds.
Right. Okay, so you're saying that this interruption of what they've got going on over there isn't even resource based. Is that what you're saying?
So here's the catch. Going back to, it's like, so not only is Israel waging war, or committing genocide with the indigenous Palestinians, and I'd be cognizant of that because, even in 1948, there were Jewish, Christian, and Muslim Palestinians all living peacefully together. But go to say, so it's like, not only are they there, but also too, there's been a lot of oil that's been recently discovered.
Got you.
And it's actually very close to Gaza. In addition to that, there has been Inyatu, he recently proposed like creating a canal, which would actually go through Gaza as well, which this would actually open up trade routes. So there are definitely resources, but then the irony is, even with that, so I'm over here waging, I guess, on a siege on indigenous people of Palestine, but then I'm also in the Congo too. You know, even when South Africa was, you know, they were getting rid of the apartheid, it was Israel that actually gave the white South Africans weapons to protect themselves against, like, you know, everything going on with the apartheid, to even, and our assumption is to maintain it. And what people also don't know is a lot of those South Africans, they converted to Judaism and moved to what's now, you know, being known as Israel.
It's a very good point. And
And
yeah,
you know,
definitely go ahead.
I was going to say, and then they talk about, you know, there is an actual apartheid in the West Banks. So it's like those South Africans being there, they're so familiar with that. That's what they're used to do, is subjugating brown people.
Yeah, when that's a part of your story, you know, it's up to the people to change history. Here in America, that is the Black Americans' plight and fortune, is that we've never stopped fighting against the oppressors, and then we take on other people's fights, and then, you know, now we're out there marching for the Palestinians, and that's not my cup of tea. I personally just don't even like marching anyway. I feel like it's a pointless symbol, but sometimes symbols can make a difference. But again, at least with this conflict, I can understand your side, whereas we've caused a lot of these problems, so it would be our responsibility to fix it. But then I'm just torn. We've caused so many problems across the world, and God damn it, if problems here aren't more important. But you know, I'm a selfish Black American. You know, I think of myself first.
A quick question. So, like, if, like, let's just, you know, let's say you could pick any civil rights leader and that be like your person. Who would your person be? If you could just go back into history, anyone who resonates with you most.
I guess it would be, or I guess especially most recently, it'd be Frances Cress Welsing. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
She got a bad rap from the academic side of things, because, you know, she relates a lot of the issues with us and sex. You know, people start talking, ooh, that's like heebie-jeebie, you know, spooky stuff. But I find that how she broke things down for the Black American, and how other people look at us. You know, we are stereotyped as exotic and not. And then you probably even more, you know, when we start having I don't want to say mixtures, but, you know, when we start adding to the melanin, you know, now we've got an even more quote unquote exotic type of look. And really, it's just the Black look. You know, take the Black away from all of these quote unquote exotic people, and they're very plain. And that's no offense to anybody, as much as I would love to always give us shine for how we put that stink on it, and everybody just kind of wants to do it too. But in the same breath, people put on our struggle, and you know, they say that their civil liberties and rights matter too, and didn't you guys fight for that for people? And I'm like, yeah, we did, but you know, we
But older, I guess, doesn't mean better either, right?
Say again.
Older doesn't mean better. I mean, look at
Britain. Right. No, yeah. Older does not mean better.
They were the first to kind of go out and start doing the things that they've done, right? Right? Britain's first, the first people they colonized were the Irish. And everything they did to the Irish, and they went out and just started doing it to other people, you know. And I say that, so I asked you who it was, because for me, my person is actually Fred Hampton.
Okay, why Fred Hampton?
Because, so I feel like, due to the way the system is designed, it is designed to kind of pit us all against each other. And so for me, I'm about empowerment for all people. Because even too, if I'm eating good, you're eating good, and you're eating, what is there to complain about if we're all eating good? You know what I mean? Like, if we're all doing great, there's nothing, there's no problems. So Fred Hampton, you know, he was for all people. And I say this to say that I even, you know, remember when the Fed started kind of doing that Black identity extremism?
Mm-hmm.
There was someone I was acquainted with. He worked with an organization I was involved with, and he actually was arrested by the federal government for being a Black identity extremist. And I'll be honest, the people that actually put up the most money were some redneck white men to get him out. I think we all believe that our government oversteps. I think that the objective is to be divisive and pit us against each other. I believe that everyone should be liberated. I don't believe in supremacy in any form for anyone. Because I always feel like it rolls back. Because even too within within our own movement too, there's issues where it's like, okay, so we're for Black empowerment, but then you still may have your foot on a woman's throat.
For sure.
So when I talk about liberation or empowerment is for everyone, because if we can marginalize anyone, we can do it. We can do it to everyone. And I feel like and then history has shown us that over and over. Even when the Nazis did go for the Jews, I think my daughter one time, we did a report, and so the report's supposed to be on the Holocaust, but what I actually made my daughter research is the African Americans that actually happened to be in Europe at that time that also were put in concentration camps because they were there. And it's like it all trickles over. Like eventually it will be at your fucking door. Even, we talk about this classism or even this situation where we're looking at the fact that there's such a huge disparity among income and how the poor, it just keep like the poor class just keeps getting larger and larger and larger. And the thing about it is eventually they're going to be at the doors of the wealthy. So you could feel like you're doing good. You're in, you're in your nice posh house and someone's going to come fucking rob you.
That's real. And I think that people get comfortable because of how much money they make, so then they think that it's not going to happen to them. And when I learned about Emmett Till and his mom and the open casket and basically how she warned him to the best of her ability that the people up there and the people down there, they're not the same. They're the same, but they're not the same, right? You can't do those things there. But the fact that she felt like she could have done more to kind of keep him safe when being a boy in America shouldn't be a crime, shouldn't be something that you should have to worry about. But being a Black boy in America, that starts to get a little dicey. And I mean, I like Fred Hampton too. A lot of people know about him because of the Black Panthers and the Rainbow Coalition Party. No, the Rainbow Coalition program, and that's that inclusive thing that you were talking about. And I get why people go there, stronger together, right? If we're all moving in one direction, then it's kind of hard to knock us off of our stance. What I find is that is our story. We are a very sharing people, and inside of that share, I just talked about this last night on another program, but sharing is caring is not really a real thing. Sharing is sharing, and then there could be care, but a lot of time it's like manipulation. So I think that
with anything, that couldn't be with anything, right? Because ultimately too, let's say you're Black first, right? But are you going to put your family first, your immediate family, your children? Right? So then all of a sudden, like if something were to be different, if something were to make you have to step apart or do something deviate from being Black first and being a mom first, being a wife first, aren't everyone's kind of like the morals being called into question? Because even too, we talk about I don't know if anyone's like, we don't talk about it enough, but even when Asians first arrived in America and the scrutiny that they were under, but they were viable labor, but they were lynched too. They were beaten. They were segregated. They did whole campaigns just basically vilifying them. Even during World War II, it wasn't so much even too that they were, they were attacking the Japanese. It was like they vilified them. They made them less than human. They were. It wasn't, even when they were, were fighting the Nazis, they still humanized them, And even too, I've read rhetoric where they had even went out, they went out and met with them. They went out and met with Hitler, and he seemed like a real charismatic guy, and a lot of them felt maybe they didn't have anything to worry about, but they did. And I say that to say that everyone not white or not a certain kind of right, because even the Irish were treated like shit. You know what I mean? And again, they were the first group colonized. They were colonized. Even recently we were talking about, me and my friends were talking about St. Patty's Day. St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick was actually from Rome, and he was sent to Ireland to wipe out anyone that didn't believe in Christianity. Anyone that was still praying to pagans, they murdered them. So, everyone's going out celebrating him because he spread Christianity, but really he was a fucking murderer and it was genocide. I think that there's not
look, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to cut you off because inside of everybody's awakening and their woke moment, they come across information and it's like, hell yeah, that absolutely, they do this all the time, right? We think about Valentine's Day and the massacre, and then Thanksgiving and the massacre. A lot of their holidays are stemmed around some crazy mass murder.
Holidays in general are made up, some shit made up from
right.
Yeah.
The homie sister Taisha, she says holidays, right? Because a lot of that stuff is just some really bad things that are being celebrated. But I'm going to challenge you to look into Dr. Clyde Winters with regards to the Irish in America, and then I would another challenge would be to check out Dr. Claud Anderson's book, A Black History Reader. And this book, it's so simple, like it's not a book that you would read from cover to cover, right? It's more like a textbook, and inside the textbook it's 101 questions you probably thought of but you never thought to ask, type of thing. And you could just go to the table of content. Yeah. And I'm gonna share it for the audience too, so that they can see.
Yeah.
But
I will say
so good.
I am aware of the relationship between the Irish and Black Americans that were here, and it not being a very amicable relationship. But I also feel like that had to do with politics and them being put against each other. Because going back to they were here, they came here as laborers or indentured servants, and then they felt they seen either slaves or freedmen as competition. It all, to me, it all still just falls back to systemic things that are put in place to keep, to keep capitalism going, right? To keep the things that they need, to keep the labor people in check, to keep laborers in check, to keep things going the way they wanted to go. But I feel like it's all like it's psychological warfare, and it's getting wages for it.
It's even deeper than that, because if you knew, and this is what I'm saying, fact check me, you guys. I'm not the authority. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything, but just in what I've learned, if you knew that white people as we know them have only been around for 1,000 years, like just take 1,000 years off of 2024, and now we're in 1024, right? And then 1492 is Christopher Columbus, and then George Washington and all that stuff came, after. I think that if people knew how tribal and cliquey niggas have always been, then they would completely understand why we're in the shit we're in right now, because now we've got different colors of people, and it's very easy to start clicking up because of how we look.
So that's ironic, because I'll be honest with you, I used to be super so like I said, I was part of an organization actually called Black Empowerment Movement. We did a lot of stuff in the community. We like I said, we work with other organizations, and like I said, even some of them were investigated by the feds. And there was a lot of weird stuff going on. I want to say in 2016, like I remember I was even out somewhere. I was at a bookstore, and a man, like, he wanted to talk to me, but like slipped me, like I guess we were being watched in his mind. It was some weird shit where you're kind of like, I don't even feel like what we're doing is that deep, but okay. But that's when, the feds started, identifying people as Black identity extremists. That being said, I was heavy into that, right? And it really happened when I was like doing research, or just kind of fell into a rabbit hole about just like a lot of, how like every now and then there's like a new indigenous tribe that's never had contact with humans, and they've resurfaced. Well, they always resurface because another tribe that never had contact with the humans is trying to fucking murder them and take their territory. And so there's something innate about humans, regardless of ethnicity, if they've had access to whites, or because someone's like, well, because it's white supremacy. Yeah, well, these folks ain't never even met nobody white.
Right. Now we're talking about tribalism clicking up. And
this is something about man that desires to conquer, no matter what, whether it's a modern civilization or one that would seem more primitive. There's something there, and that's what kind of made me dial back a bit. And then when I started to look at even like a lot of the problems in Africa, it's white supremacy, but the corruption you see with the governments, and they, everyone's fucking hands in their pockets, like everyone's molesting Africa, but at the same time they're allowing them to.
For
and
sure.
Before they were allowing them to, they were doing shit to each other from different groups of people. It's just like, Which also made, and also that's what made it so easy for some of the things to be done because they were so tribal. So I don't fuck with them over there. Do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, we're at war. You can take all of these. I don't know where you're taking them, but you can take all of them. Please get them out of my sight.
Absolutely. Look, and that is the struggle of being an awakened Black, right? Because now you have to take into consideration all of the nuances. Black on Black crime is real, y'all, but so is white on white crime. So is
absolutely,
Asian
because it's
on
about
Asian
proximity.
crime, exactly. It's proximity. So people have to, the nuances matter. And then with what we've been talking about, I love that it's gone here. And thank you for the transparency. Look, y'all are gonna get transparent moments here because we feel like learning. Why not learn, man? Like, y'all can sit in the audience and just listen if you want, but I think that if you are really paying attention to the gems that are being dropped, you'll learn something about yourself. Because check it, Marie, in real time with what you were talking about, I could understand why somebody would want to dial back from the Black empowerment thing or the white supremacy of it all thing.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't make sense. Y'all have only been around for 1,000 years, right? And then, so why is it such a big deal for us who've been here for so long to deal with? And, I would still place blame on the people who were doing these traumatic acts, but that's what I'm saying. If you get the book, I'm gonna send it to you, so you can check it out. I think it'll help with the facts about when people got here, and again, fact check him too. I don't think that he's saying he's the authority on things either. I think that
it's
you
always
just need to read, right? Just start
research. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think,
and then from there, we can really. I still think that people can feel however they want to feel. Like, check it with Palestine. If you really believe or feel that we need to do something about that, then that would be something tangible that you would be looking for when people are saying, vote for me. You
or even not do. How about that? But they all, or even not do, meaning like, let's not fund that shit. Right now, for me, everything is let's not do that. And to be honest with you, the problem is that we have this Republican Democratic Party system that honestly, until it's dismantled, we're not really going to see any real change in America. We're not going to see any real reform or anything like that because Democrats and Republicans are all bought and owned by the same corporations, the same lobbyists, etc. And they all really say the same shit, just a little bit different. I will say this: the Republicans are really good at consistent, like they say verbatim the exact same thing. Democrats, because to some degree they want to stand out, they say the same shit, but they try to use different verbiage. Maybe they want to sound a little smarter, you know what I'm saying? And really that's why sometimes they're not able to kind of move the masses in the way that you sometimes see the Republican Party do. But that being said, though, they're all the same. So so the issue is you can vote Democrat, you can vote Republican, you're gonna get the same shit. These are the same people that 300 plus people went into a fucking room and they haven't been able to make decisions about anything that really matters to most Americans and their core values and needs right now. But they were able to say, let's ban TikTok if they don't sell it to an American organization that has strong roots in Israel at that. So like that's
definitely. The Democrats definitely like to repackage their message to try to gain a younger audience. You got take your booty to the polls or not, strike that. You've got vote or die, and
I mean, that's cute and shit, but it doesn't mean anything. Like going vote or die, like you're gonna die. You're dying with either fucking party. One is just maybe, because here's the thing too, something radical is gonna happen. Whether it's radical, I think Trump said, like, well, if I don't get elected in, it's going to be anarchy. And then a part of me wonders if he gets elected, will it be anarchy? It's going to be anarchy. It's just like, will it? So it's going to be like, how quickly will we arrive there? That's the thing.
Yeah, I think that people need to use their common sense, right? For what it's worth, we're already living in a system of tyranny, for all parties involved. Unless you're a person who is perpetuating, the tyranny, you got a little bit of protections there.
I mean, you're the 5%. Oh, you kind of good.
Right. But I mean, for the most part, everybody wants to believe that there's good people out here. So let's just say that most people are good people. They just are victims or bystanders of circumstance. But from there,
talk about relationship stuff. Like, just do the thing because What if they were good people? What if there was return on your investment? Go ahead.
Right? No tangibles. I'm trying to tell you. Look, if you are going to vote, me personally, my thought is that you vote for somebody who's going to do something that you want them to do, and then if you vote for that person and they don't do that thing, then you hold them accountable. Me, I say that there's only really one thing that I think matters, and that's basically reparative justice for us first, and then we can talk about these other problems. Because yeah, we done fucked up a lot of shit, but no, we fucked up here first, and that part, I think could really move the needle. Rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. But I really want people to, if you're going to watch the news and things are going to move you, then do something about it. That's all I'm really saying. I personally, how I do something is not necessarily going to be how you do something, but at least you're doing something, don't be bitches about shit. I hate that.
I don't know. I think I honestly, for the first time ever, like I'm in a weird position just because of how I genuinely feel about all parties. And honestly, I feel like the way America is going, I don't actually see reparative justice, just simply because we seem to be taking more and more rights away from people left and right every fucking chance we can get. It seems like we're rolling back everything, and we're back in the Reconstruction period, or
I hear you, but like real talk, if it was on the ballot, would you vote for that person? If reparations if there was a person who had reparations on their ballot, would you vote for that person?
Yeah, but do I think that person would win? No.
Right. Okay. So that I'm
So
not
that's
even
my problem is that I think
I
my
feel
issue
you.
is that I actually need them to fucking win, right? So there's some socialists I would like to vote for. But at the end of the day, socialists don't like independents don't win fucking elections.
No, they split the
I don't
vote
even
for
know
sure.
the last time the independent won a fucking election. I think wasn't Jimmy Carter independent?
Man, don't have me lying on this on Beyonce's internet site.
And then his ass only got one term anyways because he was too fucking soft for others, or really what they were pushing too, because it's like that coming out of the Cold War, so they're pushing this other tough on all these things. Like the problem is that the thing is these politicians really are setting what the agenda is. A lot of times it's not really the American people pushing, it's the politicians convincing them this is what you need, this is what we're gonna do. And the shit they really need, they're not doing. I feel like whites are bamboozled. Poor whites are constantly bamboozled by fucking Republicans. They go out, they say all this shit to them, and nothing happens. Democrats completely ignore poor whites. All of their messages are geared towards minorities, and then they still don't do shit for them either. Or then they give them laws that don't benefit them. Like I'll be honest with you, anytime that I've seen them make a law specific to race, all it did was target that. All it did was put a target on that person's back. Even though people say, "Oh, I want this," once you get it, there's gonna be some white folks ready to whoop your ass.
I feel you, but
So
white people whooping our ass. Like
I think it
I
wasn't
feel
there
you.
the Chinese. There was a Asian. It was like something crimes like hate crimes against Asians. All it did was actually create more hate crimes against Asians.
Nah, see, again, we're gonna have to respectfully disagree here because a lot of these situations are self-inflicted wounds, and if you don't treat the people right that are around you or that you're doing business with, I don't know how much people are supposed to take. I also am not. I I'm not trying to tell people how to live or exist outside of, I feel like Black people in America are owed a debt. And then from there, I think that a lot of the problems that the world is facing is because America is ignoring that debt. Like they would rather do X, Y, Z, A through Z, instead of fix this problem that they started, right? Because again, this is a self-inflicted wound. And those sting the worst, paper cuts and hitting your funny bone, them shits hurt. They don't really kill you, right? And America's not dead yet, right? But as you said, oh, and before I even get off of this, I did look it up. George Washington, according to ChatGPT, is the only U.S. president who was elected as an independent. But people who ran as independents, like Theodore Roosevelt and Ross Perot, but they didn't.
Wasn't George Washington the first president? So of course,
Exactly.
like,
The only one,
whatever the fuck he could be the young party.
that is the only right. So just throwing that out there. We do have the internet, so I try to make sure that at least if I misspeak, try to correct it in real time. Because I don't know everything, and ChatGPT doesn't know everything either. Because really,
And just for the record too, you mentioned just to kind of most crimes against the Asians are by whites.
There you go. Right.
That's the point I was making.
Normalization.
That was what I was saying all along. I don't.
No.
I want to clear that up because then you made the comment about treating people a certain way, and I do hear a lot of.
I got you.
Sometimes I hear that stereotypical, the rhetoric about like going in their shops and being treated a certain way, even though first I'm not spending my money somewhere where anyone makes me feel like shit.
No, I was there.
Like 2 seconds, but
you're right. It's the narrative that gets spun, right? Because what I just talked about, the Black on Asian crime, that's what gets talked about.
Yeah, that wasn't even what I was like. And I was like, actually referring to the white people
because that is what's real. Absolutely.
Whites are fucking angry as fuck. Like they're like very poor whites are they actually make up the majority and they're very fucking angry and they're angry at anyone that like even you get a shout out. Did they say their names? They said blacks. The blacks are getting some. We ain't got shit.
Look, I say that 2A is my way, and I'm very happy to live in a state that encourages people to defend themselves. But being a Black in America, the laws don't necessarily work for us like that either. But be ready to defend your shit for real, because like you said, these people are angry, and look, rightfully so. Poor whites are getting the shit end of white privilege. Like they have enough white privilege to shit on us. Not really, but
not even
kinda. And then they can't actually do anything. There's niggas making way more money, and
their only benefit is maybe in their community. And even then, once they're known, they're whatever trash family they're consisted of, or if they're criminals, they're already kind of known, they're like labeled. So the problem with being a poor white is that you're typically from a rural community, small town. So even it's like a fucking desert, like you're going nowhere in your life. Which I guess would make you feel like you want to blame someone, you're very upset, and you are white, but it actually doesn't mean shit. And then you see these other groups and these uppity Negroes and these uppity Latinas and those fucking Asians coming over here. And, and again, it's everyone else, but it's really because you're in this small ass town, you don't have the right skill sets and being white is not enough. But you have been told that it is enough. And there are people that, because even too, I think folks forget them. And one time I had a conversation with some friends and, they really never, they didn't even, because I'm like, we don't look down, we look up. We're not looking down. Shit, we looking up and across. So of course you're not really seeing. And then why would you go to a poor white community anyways? You're Black. That's no different than pulling up into somebody's hood that you're not from. You're not going to do that. You're not.
We don't do that. They do that though. You see poor whites living in Black neighborhoods all the time.
I don't know. Every time I see whites in Black neighborhoods, I be thinking they're there for drugs. I'm like, what you doing here?
Look, I'm not trying to put your business out there, but you. Right now, I don't know where you come from, but you live in pretty comfortable. So maybe just the landscape of America might look a little bit different if you travel to some go to some hoods. I'm telling you, it looks like a quote unquote melting pot.
I used to work for a very big organization, and I had the Southwest region, and so I would be like in Greenwood, Mississippi. I would be in like Tuscaloosa. I would be in, and so not that I'm there to be there. So the thing is that Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, they're heavy in the South. And so there are like a lot of dealerships. So I would actually go visit these owners of these dealerships. And so even for me, I got to even learn the difference between like someone maybe an Arkansas white man is going to be different than, a Mississippi white man.
Hey, look, are you so tribalism, but not right? Because they can still all be white, even though they're
but all different kinds of. And honestly, the funny part is I didn't think I was like going to do well, but the thing about it is there is some novelty or there's some privilege that comes with my racial ambiguity. So it kind of it worked. I will say there's sometimes that there might even one time I think I had a peer. She was a sales manager. She sold the vehicles to the dealerships, and my job was more or less assisting the dealerships with marketing to sell to consumers. And so I remember I didn't need to do anything, and I couldn't figure out why she wanted me to go. And then I got there and I seen how they treated her. And in that moment, I knew exactly, like she brought me in there as reinforcement. And the thing was, because of my role too, you weren't going to talk to me any kind of way. And she was younger. She was like a 23-year-old Black girl, just fresh out of college, whatever. This is her first job since she graduated. And they just really weren't the most inviting people. And I had to kind of, so I realized I had to advocate for her when we came in there. And they were very rude initially. And then when I'm like, hey, no, I'm actually here with corporates. And we don't really have to be here and let you, and this is during COVID too, when there was a shortage in vehicles due to chips and just like logistics, all kinds of stuff. So it's like, look, you can either play ball, get some vehicles, or you guys can be shit out of luck and just have a dealership, and hopefully, your repair shop keeps the lights on.
No, that's real. But I mean, I'm glad that happened, and I'm sad that happened, because Black girls are taught to kind of be passive, and then girls with racial ambiguity kind of get a pass to be assertive, and it's not so crazy. But look, I know there's nuances there, because you could look like a Latina, right? And then they're known for being spicy, right? And then you could also look Black, and they're known.
I think I give Latina
angry, right? So you got a spicy, angry woman.
Yeah, right. But I do give Latina. That's what people assume most of the time. But see, also too, in that role, the catch is that, like, while she worked directly for Chrysler, I actually work for an organization they pay. So it was like they pay me. So too, I'm really doing you a favor. I don't it goes to, I don't benefit whatsoever. I'm consulting. Like, I'm a salaried employee. I'm gonna get paid whether I come in this motherfucker or not. You can say, so even for me, I can say I don't want to go in that dealership, and no one can say anything.
And I'm glad, and that's what I'm saying. I'm glad that you were able to do that, because a lot of times, like you just said, if there's no incentive, then that sisterhood, that's not there. And then you got people talking about the sisterhood of dysfunction, and I do see that. I see dysfunctional bitches all the time. So when women are stepping up and helping out, I like that. What I don't like is that inside of these white people that we have to deal with, we have to put on a show, or kind of
you have to
bring do extra.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, there was a timing like that. Like, I don't have careers like that anymore. Like, I have a career. Like, I enjoy my career, but I myself, like, how I fucking talk right now is how I talk. How I think one time I almost had to slip up and not call the client a nigga. I'm like, so this nigga. Oh yeah. let me put some type of code switch on here. The catch is too, is I feel like we all, I think there's a point where you stop caring. Or you get to a position, or you stand in, like, you're so good at what you do, you don't give a fuck. But I will say this, and there was this one time I was at a conference, and I was there was one other Black woman, and she came with a group, and I came by myself, because I had the entire region. And I was solo dolo. And no one spoke to me. No one sat with me. I sat at a table that seated 8. Not a fucking person sat with me. And the funny part is, I thought it was just me. And we did have a conversation where they were like, oh, you had braids, and yeah, you were giving Black that day. And this was a conversation I had with a Black male.
No, that's real.
It was such a scary uncomfortable experience. But then here's the irony. I had another colleague. She's based out of Vermont, and she has the East Coast. And I didn't tell her about my experience, because I also, like, one of those things, like, you're kind of internalizing it, like, you're thinking about it. You're processing what happened. Like, could I have been more, like, what did I play a role in this? Because even sometimes too, you will shrink yourself if you don't feel comfortable.
I'm about to just be real with you. Is it also could be your age? I find a lot of times, at least for me, in positions of power, because of how young I am, or how young I was at the time, the old people in the room, they weren't really liking it like that. And then, then you kind of get treated a certain way, because, you're a person who got there faster than they got there.
And so that's the thing. So the irony is, so my colleague, she's Lebanese, but she looks like a white woman, but younger than me. She's in her late 20s. She actually had literally almost the same exact fucking story. So what we've put together was automotive industry, automotive software industry. One, automotive is a good old boys club, period. So being a woman in there and being in any type of role is it's not very common at all, to be honest with you. And even too, when I initially got the role, I even had a African-American male think that they just hired me because I was cute. Which I was like, I don't even give that kind of cute. Like, I'm not IG model. Like, I'm like the girl next door. But like, you really thought that? And the funny part is, he would though he had been with the company longer than me, he would ask me about like how to use different reporting systems and how to analyze the data. And I was just kind of like, well, who the fuck are you sleeping with? Because you don't know shit. But I say that to say that he had the same experience, and it wasn't because she was Black, but it was because she was a woman and probably young. And I had that experience probably because I am Black, and then because I'm a woman. because it was mostly men.
Look, some of these industries are dominated by men because it's theirs. And I don't necessarily know that we're supposed to be there as much as if we want to be there, we can be there. If you want to do the job and you can do the job, then go for it. However, I know that they play these power games, and inside of that, if you can find allies, I think that's great because then you can kind of work around them. But look, I'm kind of tripping off of what you said. This dude, he told you that he hired you because you were cute.
No, he told me he thought I got hired because I was cute. Because the thing is, so
Oh, he
again,
thought you got. Look, I was like, what type of work?
no, but I was saying, like, right. My objective is I go out into these dealerships, and I actually have like I coordinate or manage the vendor relationship. So even to, let's say you're paying for marketing from this company, it's within our umbrella. I'm the one that's making sure it's being done properly, or even too, is it a good vendor? Do you go with them? Do you not go with them? I know how to read the data and stuff, right? So the catch is with them though, we partner with these sales managers, and their job is to sell the dealerships the car. So there's some value in the relationship, and we were asked to kind of come together. And he was real short with me initially, like real funny acting. And it was like maybe a couple months, then he finally like,
right,
Lori,
opened up.
I thought you were just a
Thought
cute
you were
babe.
just, yeah, you were
Are
cute.
you fucking kidding me? But even too, it showed the misogyny, because even too, he said, well, this one vendor, she was dressed real nice, and I just didn't. So the problem is, you think because women dress nice that there's like, we're here to distract you? Like, you realize you're the fucking problem? Imagine your daughter going somewhere and no one listening to her, taking her serious because she took the time to make sure that she looked nice. And that's the part where it's like, there was times even when I worked in IT where I would dress down and look like a bum damn near, because when I wasn't client facing. But the catch was, the moment I was like I dressed up or looked nice or looked like something. I remember I was talking to my boss about this advertising campaign, which he had been on my ass. So I'm finally like, okay, I'm doing it, blah, blah, blah. And literally he cuts me off mid-sentence, like, don't you feel good? You look really good. What?
Well,
this is why I come to work ugly, because you motherfuckers don't.
I don't know how to act, right? No, that's some real shit that we have to deal with as women in some of these professions, or I guess maybe across all professions, if there are men in power who are attracted to us. And I think that with all the rhetoric going around about what people are not attracted to and what people won't accept and what people should stay away from, people should just shut the fuck up. Really. Like, people are gonna like what they like. They're gonna be into what they're into. And you really probably should not have any say on what somebody likes. Now, let's talk about what people like. I think some men like to be in positions of power where they can say little smart things, and depending on the type of woman you are, they can get away with it. And then if they can get away with that, then maybe they can get away with something else. And now we're on a slippery slope of, like we talked about a time before about, smiling. Sometimes I will smile because it's just easier. And honestly, I like the little ego boost because I know I have a nice smile. And sometimes I know what my stone cold face looks like. And I don't really be feeling like that for the most part. I just really am focused sometimes. So that little public reminder that life's not so serious, that makes me laugh. But in real time, I feel like how I get what you said about fuck you. Like, get out of my face. Like, what do you mean smile? Like, I'm a smile if I want to smile.
Yeah.
I feel that too, right? But
you'll never get a man like that, baby. I'm not worried about getting no fucking man, and there's not a shortage of men that want me.
Well, why are we even having this whole conversation, right? Like, not like all this talking. I'm here to get my damn Slurpee and not to talk to yo ass right now. It's 6:30 in the morning, right? Or I'm sorry, maybe I'm not drinking Slurpee. That's a coffee time, and then maybe whatever. Like, people are so social, and I'm not. So I like the reminders to be social because it can be, but in real time, maybe that's a problem that millennials are facing because we're social online. I have zero issues talking to y'all right now or talking to people on their posts or whatever, when I want to, and then I can turn it off, and I feel like sometimes I'm like that in real life. I'll deal with y'all and turn it off. I don't know if that's the best way to be, but I think that in the age of technology, when you can just turn something off, maybe a lot of us are kind of programmed to just deal with things separately in different environments, and then not make connections across the board, because people that you wouldn't deal with online, you are definitely dealing with them in person. You just don't know their handle. And then maybe it's not them specifically, but there's a lot of connections and similarities, and it's like, I would not talk to you for real if I knew you in person. But online,
or even too online, the conversation I have aren't the conversation I have in person. Like honestly, some of the shit we talk about online never ever does it come up in real life with men I know or whatever. It seems like it's just social media. But now every now and then, I got some flack from some of our last podcast, and the other one I think they only listened to half of it because I'm like, if you hadn't heard the rest, you still would have known that there was a shot in there. But for the most part, some of these like people that actually meet me in person, when they do actually find my social media page or whatever, they're kind of like, wow, like you don't say much. But it's like, what the fuck do you think I'm supposed to have battle of the sexes while I'm out to dinner or having a drink? I'm coming to chill. Like, my social media is kind of where it's like almost like my diary or a place I go to vent, or I see something, I say something. But in real life, I'm actually kind of reserved unless it's a subject I'm just really passionate about. And I'm in my circle, you know what I mean? So I'm in a safe space so we can have a dialogue or whatever. And and even too, sometimes there might be some dialogue, with a stranger. You kind of like, yeah, we're gonna end this shit with you, right? I think one time something was coming out where this man was talking, and somehow we all got in this conversation, and he's talking about he had all this money, but his teeth were terrible. And as soon as we left that man, I was like, he showed us all that fucking money, and he ain't been to the dentist. Now, so I did take that to social media.
No, that's some real shit. And I'm sorry, did you say that Marie, did you say that he acknowledged that he had a fucked up grill?
No,
and he had money, or y'all were just
no. So we're all sitting outside. We're all like at this, like we're at the bar, we're on the outside, and he's just talking about if a man ain't got no money and all this stuff, and he shows how he has money. He can take care of things, and I'm just like, but you're not taking care of your teeth. And that really bothered me. I'm just sitting here just like really disgusted.
No, listen, men, I'm very much the same way. And not that y'all need to be out here trying to get with me. No, women, notice a nice smile. That is my one tip to you. If you do anything, fix your fucking smile. I swear to God, that will turn you from you to okay. I mean, you might be a fucked up person, but we're visual creatures, and we're creatures of habit. And if you look nice, then you get a little bit more time. And it's crazy that I said that, because in this whole topic tonight and conversation, we talked about how the person who told you if you dress nice, you'll feel better. And it's like, I'm not dressing for y'all. I mean, I'm dressing for them. It's not for y'all. This is a show. I understand my role, and being around people, maybe I don't need to look like that. But if I'm not around people, then I'm gonna look like this. I'm clean, right? Whatever.
So the irony is, I got my start in like web dev, marketing, like Google Analytics, all that stuff in the very beginning, right? And so the tech world really was like t-shirt and jeans. The owners of the company I work for, they were snowboarders. This isn't like kind of like now where we are. This is fast forward, 15 years. But once upon a time, the internet people were just on Facebook, MySpace, they just started doing some marketing. Dealerships just started getting websites. But we were more like, we saved our critical thinking, our big decisions for when we got to work, not, looking, and then really like looking good so I can be sexually harassed by white men.
Right. No, that's not.
I'm glad that I finally look appealing.
They need it.
I'm glad that you like it. Like, you love it here. You like that? Like, sir, go to hell.
Excuse me, HR. I have something to say. No. I mean, look, you can use it. Shout out to Kamala, or not. And shout out to the people who get it through the mud. And either
I'm
way
more
you
of a
do
get it
it,
out the mud kind of bitch because you're not because the catch is people that do give it to you, they gonna remind you they gave it to you that way. Like you weren't shit when I found you on the corner of
mm,
such a you know,
mm,
remember I'm the one that got you.
mm.
Yeah, you ain't So if I just gotta get it out the mud, it's gonna take me 10 years longer because I didn't want to sleep with you to make it happen. I'll be stubborn. As I was told once, I'll be stubborn.
I'll be stubborn right along with you. I'm very much a May Taurus, and very much a, well, if you're into cards, then you can know. Well, no, you can't know. You only know if you know. And I'll probably cut that out of what I just said. But uh, to the topic and what we've been talking about tonight, I I love how the conversation starts one way, and even though we've gone all over the world, no pun intended, it still kind of revolves around the same thing, which is, when we're fed information, what do we do with it? And then if you want to do something with it, go ahead, but if you just want to bitch about it, then
You know what
understand
else?
it's not gonna do anything as much as it might irritate the people around you that you're bitching about it.
You know what else I got from this? We still were talking about power dynamics.
That's
Like
gonna definitely
all of it
always,
still
always.
consists with some type of power dynamic, whether we were talking about politics, race, sex, the workplace, there's a power dynamic there.
Absolutely. And look, with all these online gurus and self help people and uh, empowerment people talking about the 48 laws of power, I think that it's very important for people to read. If y'all are going to talk about these laws and really read them and then understand that most of y'all break most of them shits like the commandments. Like y'all are some habitual line steppers and you don't even know it. And maybe if you just open the damn book, you would recognize where you're going wrong. But to me, as a millennial, I like to open books. I like ebooks, but I also like to actually have a book in my hand, and flip through the pages and stuff. So I feel like it really helps commit it to my memory. And a lot of y'all just go online and how you're accessing information. It might be a little bit different if you actually paid for the information from the person who put out the information. I don't know. But power dynamics, maybe that'll be our next topic. We can talk about power dynamics. I'd like to get some of the fellas who've been in the audience who've had some comments about what we're talking about to join us. So, if that's you, definitely drop us a line in the comments, or you can shoot me a DM on the social media platforms that I'm on. But Marie, did you have any final thoughts before we close this out for our topic on World War what?
I mean, shit. I feel like we've gone all around the world, and everything is everything. Like everything is everything. It's all impactful. I think everything trickles over, like one way or another. And it's interesting because we what we plan to talk about and how we just navigated all over the place. But I do think one big thing is like no matter what you believe or whatever you think, um, or even like how you said, go ahead and check out those particular books, also do your own research, go look up stuff, go learn things, like fall
Yes.
into a few rabbit holes, get lost, be confused, go look up
Yes.
something else. um but I think you'll learn a lot, and I think that's for me is I fell into like this imperialism rabbit hole more recently, or even too I've been like on the Cold War and just the dynamics of that and dichotomy, and even where America came to rise as like a real superpower, and even the deception behind that. um and that's why I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, like we got to pay the piper, we got to pay the piper. But the piper must be paid. But I will say, do your own research, go look stuff up, ask questions, make let it not make sense, do some more research, discuss it, talk about it, pontificate on it.
Oh,
um
yeah.
but
Hell,
there's value there.
absolutely. That I really hope that that comes across, and every time we come on the mic, that we're not telling you how to feel. I'm not telling you how to feel. If y'all have been listening to me for any period of time, I'm just Eve, right? Like y'all gonna do what the fuck you want to do, but maybe sometimes having access to information or just being around people who are comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's really a lot of times that's what these conversations are. It's questions that you might have had, but you didn't think that they were important enough to even do any research behind because so many people get it already. So like, okay, it's just easier to just go with the flow. But no, definitely get comfortable knowing that a lot of the shit that you know is some bullshit. And we grew up in a time where real information was readily available if you knew where to get it. And then this other stuff that's going on, these layers and rabbit hole that Marie was talking about, that's new. And it's new because, you know, people don't really want you to have it. However, you know, I know that that's probably really daunting. Eve, you're telling me to research. Marie, you're telling me to do this research, and it's a bunch of bullshit. And no, I'm saying that common sense works. And if you start doing some research, when things click for you, you know, ride that, own it. That's what I'm saying. Own your decisions and stop pawning it off on because somebody else told you to do it or somebody else was doing it and that's why you're doing it. Nah, no, we're past that. We're the adults in the room now. So inside of, you know, whatever we're talking about, I hope that at least I'm being clear about how I feel and then, you know, why I feel like this, and then, you know, do your diligence. Figure that shit out. Or don't feel how I feel. I'd be cool with that because when I'm wrong, trust, I'm gonna let you know. And then y'all are also gonna have to be like, yeah, damn, Eve fucked up. But you know, that's all right, you know, because we doing this. We doing X, Y, and Z. We are making the math. Anyway, um, to the room and the chat and the comments. Actually, no, I don't think I'm gonna have the chat on for this one. I think I'm gonna just drop it. So to the people in the comments and the listeners, we appreciate y'all being here. Getting it through the mud, I think that matters a little bit more than just having it handed to you. So if you are a new subscriber, we appreciate you being here. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the bell because you will be notified when we drop our next episode.